Ethan, landing on a distant alien planet for a routine exploration mission. The planet is rumored to have a mysterious civilization, but no human has ever interacted with them. Strange signals lead him to a massive palace-like structure hidden inside glowing forests. The tension rises immediately. Ethan is cautiously exploring when suddenly a mysterious figure appears, an alien woman, elegant and glowing in a way humans have never seen. She introduces herself as Princess Lyra, the ruler of this hidden alien civilization. Her eyes are mesmerizing, making Ethan feel both drawn and terrified. She asks him unexpectedly, "Look into my eyes, human. Am I sexy?" The line is delivered with a mix of curiosity and challenge, leaving the audience hanging, wondering how Ethan will respond. Ethan hesitates but answers honestly, "Yes." Immediately the palace reacts. Walls shimmer, lights pulse, and a strange, otherworldly music fills the air. Ethan realizes this is not just a question of attraction, it is a test of trust and courage. Rising action. Princess Lyra leads Ethan deeper into the palace. Each room seems alive, reacting to his thoughts and fears. He encounters holographic illusions, strange alien creatures, and ancient artifacts. There's a growing suspense. Ethan senses danger, as though the palace itself is evaluating him. He must prove he's worthy of her trust and survive. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Ethan's shuttle trembled as it descended through the thick atmosphere of the alien planet. He gripped the controls, trying to steady the ship against the unpredictable winds. Below him, the landscape stretched endlessly, a mix of glowing forests, jagged mountains, and rivers that shimmered like liquid silver. No human had set foot here before, and the thought both thrilled and terrified him. His mission was simple: explore, observe, report. But the stories he had heard from previous scouts whispered of a civilization that existed hidden from all outsiders, a people whose power was said to rival that of entire planets. The shuttle touched down softly in a clearing surrounded by tall, bioluminescent trees. Their leaves pulsed faintly, like the planet itself was breathing. Ethan paused, taking in the eerie glow that bathed the area in shades of green and purple. Something about the silence unnerved him. There were no sounds of animals or birds, no wind rustling the leaves, only the hum of the ship's engines fading into the background. He stepped out of the shuttle, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, glowing ground. He checked his equipment, scanning for life forms. His instruments picked up faint energy readings coming from a direction far ahead. As he followed the signals, a colossal structure slowly emerged from the mist, a palace impossibly tall with walls that seemed to ripple like liquid metal. It shimmered in the dim light, reflecting the glowing forest around it. Ethan's heart pounded. He had expected ruins or abandoned buildings, not something alive with energy. The closer he got, the more he realized this palace was alive in some way. Tiny lights flickered across its surface, and the walls seemed to shift subtly, as if aware of his presence. He swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of awe and fear. A sound made him stop. It was soft at first, like a whisper, then clearer, words forming in a language he could somehow understand. "Human, you have come." His breath caught in his throat. No one should know he was here, yet the voice was calm, almost inviting. Ethan scanned the area, but there was no one to be seen. He took a cautious step forward, then another, drawn toward the palace entrance, a massive archway carved from what looked like solid light. Inside, the air was warm and filled with a subtle vibration, like the pulse of a living organism. He hesitated, knowing that once he entered, there would be no turning back. Finally, curiosity outweighed caution. He stepped inside. The interior was breathtaking. Walls of shimmering crystal extended endlessly, reflecting his own image in fragmented patterns. The floor was smooth and dark, absorbing the light around it, and strange symbols floated midair, moving slowly as if alive. Ethan's mind raced, trying to process what he saw. He had read about alien architecture, but nothing in the books described this. This palace felt conscious, aware of his presence. Then he saw her. She appeared without warning, stepping out from a corridor that seemed to appear from nowhere. Her skin glowed softly, a gentle blue light tracing the contours of her body. Her eyes, larger than a human's, held an intensity that made Ethan's breath catch. She was beautiful, unlike any being he had ever seen. Every movement was graceful, almost liquid, and the air around her seemed to shimmer. "You've come far, human," she said, her voice melodic, echoing softly through the hall. "I am Princess Lyra." Ethan tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. She took a step closer, her eyes never leaving his, and he felt an unexplainable pull toward her. Then she smiled, a slight curve of her lips that made the room seem warmer. Look into my eyes, human, am I sexy? The question hit him like a jolt of electricity. His mind froze. He wasn't prepared for this. The way she asked it wasn't flirtatious in the way humans would expect. It was serious, testing him, seeing if he could look beyond fear and fascination to honesty. Ethan knew he had to answer, and he did. Yes, he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. You are. The palace reacted immediately. Walls shimmered, the floating symbols flickered faster, and the air thrummed with energy. Ethan stepped back, startled. This wasn't just a question of attraction. He realized suddenly that Lyra was testing him, seeing if he could face her honestly without flinching. Good, she said softly. Honesty is rare among humans. Her gaze softened, though the intensity remained. Follow me, there is much to show you. He followed her through corridors that twisted and turned impossibly, each room more astonishing than the last. Some contained strange creatures that seemed to exist between dimensions, hovering and shifting in ways that defied physics. Others held artifacts that glowed with energy, humming with power he couldn't comprehend. Ethan tried to absorb everything, feeling both awe and growing fear. Do you understand what you see? Lyra asked, her voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of expectation. I think so, Ethan said, some of it. She nodded, seemingly satisfied. This palace, my world, it responds to truth and courage. Lies and fear, they are punished. Ethan shivered, realizing he wasn't just exploring a palace. He was being tested, and failure could be deadly. As they moved deeper, the corridors grew darker, the light coming only from Lyra herself and the floating symbols. The air grew heavier, charged with tension. Shadows flickered along the walls, and Ethan could hear whispers again, low voices speaking in a language he didn't know. What are those? He asked, glancing around nervously. They are the memories of this place, Lyra said. The palace remembers all who enter, all who lie, all who try to deceive. It watches, it waits. Ethan swallowed hard. He had faced dangerous missions before, but nothing like this. Here, every thought, every hesitation could betray him. He realized he had to trust her completely, even as fear gnawed at the edges of his mind. They entered a large chamber, the walls covered in shifting symbols that formed images, scenes of battles, of alien creatures, and of beings that looked like humans. Ethan recognized himself in one of the images, standing beside Lyra, though he hadn't yet imagined this future. The symbols moved, showing not what was, but what could be. Lyra stepped closer, her hand hovering near his. Do you see yourself here? She asked. Do you understand what it means? I think so, Ethan said slowly. It's showing possibilities. Yes, she said, but not all possibilities are safe. Some lead to danger, some to death. The chamber shifted suddenly, the walls closing in slightly, and Ethan felt a pressure on his chest. A faint hum grew louder, vibrating through the floor. From the shadows emerged creatures, tall and thin, their eyes glowing red. Ethan froze, realizing they were not illusions. Lyra stood calmly beside him, her eyes locked on his. Do not lie to them, do not fear them, she whispered. Trust yourself. Ethan drew a deep breath, gripping a piece of alien debris as a weapon. The creatures circled him, their movements slow but deliberate. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he stayed rooted, feeling Lyra's presence beside him, steady and unshakable. Then, without warning, the creatures vanished, dissolving into the air like smoke. The chamber returned to normal, the symbols calming. Ethan's heart raced, and he realized the palace was testing him through these visions, gauging his courage. You did well, Lyra said softly. Her hand brushed against his arm, a gesture that sent warmth through him. Many humans would have faltered. You have honesty, courage, and a mind that is not easily swayed. Ethan felt both relief and awe. This was more than an exploration. This was a trial of character, of spirit. He had never faced anything like it, and yet he felt a strange sense of belonging. The final room they entered was vast, filled with light that seemed to come from nowhere. At the center floated a crystalline structure, pulsing gently. Lyra turned to him, her eyes intense. Everything you have seen is only the beginning, she said. Tomorrow, you will face challenges that will test not only your mind and body but your heart. Are you ready? Ethan hesitated, then nodded. I will try. Lyra smiled, a soft, almost tender smile. Good, rest now. The night is long and the palace watches. As Ethan lay on a simple cot in a room that seemed to glow softly around him, he couldn't stop thinking about her question, her eyes, and the way the palace had reacted to his honesty. Sleep was difficult, for the images of the palace, the creatures and Princess Lyra haunted him. He knew that whatever awaited him next, he He had to be ready, not just to survive, but to prove he was worthy of this world. Outside, the palace hummed softly, alive and aware. Shadows shifted in the corners, whispering secrets that Ethan could not understand. The forest outside glowed under the twin moons, and for the first time he realized that he was not just a visitor. He was a participant in a story far larger than himself, one that could change the fate of worlds. And in the quiet of the alien night, Princess Lyra's eyes lingered in his mind, asking again softly, "Look into my eyes, human, am I sexy?" Ethan's heart pounded. The answer had been simple, but the consequences were only beginning. Ethan awoke to a soft glow filling the room. The light seemed to move, almost breathing with him. He sat up slowly, feeling the weight of the previous day's experiences pressing on his mind. The palace around him was quiet, yet alive. He could sense the energy of the walls, the pulse of the floating symbols, and the faint hum that seemed to come from every corner. Lyra appeared in the doorway, her glow stronger in the morning light. "It is time," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Today you will face what lies beyond observation. Today you will be tested." Ethan rose, brushing off his uniform, feeling both nervous and determined. He had survived the illusions and challenges of yesterday, but he knew the trials ahead would be far more dangerous. His first real test of courage and character was about to begin. Lyra led him through twisting corridors that seemed to change as they walked. Symbols floated in the air, shifting constantly, showing glimpses of distant stars and alien worlds. Ethan tried to focus, taking in the beauty and danger around him. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the palace itself were weighing his resolve. They arrived at a massive chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow. Strange energy crackled in the air, making the hairs on Ethan's arms stand on end. At the center of the room floated a crystalline sphere, larger than any building he had ever seen. Inside, faint images flickered, battles, creatures, and alien landscapes. "This is the Chamber of Truth," Lyra said. "It tests your mind and spirit. What you see here will challenge your courage, your honesty, and your will to survive." Ethan swallowed hard. "How do I survive it?" he asked. "By facing it," she said simply. "Fear will only make it stronger. Trust yourself and trust me." As he stepped closer to the sphere, it pulsed brightly. Ethan's heart raced, and he felt a strange pull, as though the chamber itself was drawing him in. Suddenly, the air shimmered, and he found himself no longer in the room, but on a battlefield. Alien warriors surrounded him, their weapons glowing red. Ethan instinctively reached for his blaster, but realized he had none. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. "Do not panic, this is only a test. You must use your mind, not force." Ethan looked around, trying to find a way out. The aliens advanced slowly, their eyes glowing with menace. He noticed the terrain shifting beneath them, responding to his fear. Remembering Lyra's words, he forced himself to breathe deeply and focus. Slowly, the battlefield began to fade, replaced by a series of floating platforms, each glowing faintly. A path appeared, leading toward the center of the illusion. He stepped forward cautiously, each move measured, avoiding traps that appeared on the platforms. Shadows shifted beneath him, and strange whispers filled the air, mocking him, testing his resolve. Every step felt like walking on the edge of a knife, but he pressed on, refusing to give in to fear. Finally, he reached the center of the chamber. The sphere's surface rippled, and a holographic image of Lyra appeared. "Well done," she said. "You have learned to control fear. Now the next test begins." Suddenly, the chamber shifted violently. The platforms dissolved, and Ethan fell through darkness. He landed hard, bruising his shoulder, but quickly realized he was no longer alone. Figures moved in the shadows, whispering threats. This time they were not illusions. Real alien soldiers emerged, armed with energy weapons. Ethan's heart raced. He had no weapons, no training for combat against beings like these. Panic threatened to overwhelm him, but he remembered Lyra's earlier lesson. He could not rely on force alone. Thinking quickly, he scanned the chamber, noticing small crystals embedded in the walls. Each crystal pulsed faintly when he touched it. With a surge of intuition, he grabbed one, and it hummed with energy, forming a protective barrier around him. The alien soldiers recoiled, confused. Ethan realized he could manipulate the energy of the palace itself. Moving carefully, he touched another crystal, creating a shield that deflected an attack. Slowly, he learned to channel the palace's energy, using it to protect himself and push back the attackers. Lyra appeared beside him, her presence steadying him. "Good," she said. "You are learning to work with the palace, not against it. That is the key." The fight continued, each wave of enemies more challenging than the last. Ethan's confidence grew as he adapted, using the environment to his advantage. The palace responded to his courage and clarity of thought, amplifying his abilities in subtle ways. He began to understand the connection Lyra had with this world, how she and the palace were intertwined, and how honesty and courage allowed him to access powers he had never imagined. Finally, the last of the attackers fell, dissolving into light. Ethan collapsed to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. Lyra stepped forward, her glowing form illuminating the chamber. "You have done well," she said softly. "Few humans could have faced this. You have honesty, courage, and strength." Ethan looked at her, panting. It was overwhelming. I didn't think I could survive." Lyra smiled, a warm and gentle expression. "You survived because you trusted yourself and faced the truth. That is what makes you remarkable." Ethan felt a surge of pride, but also relief. He had passed the chamber of truth, survived the illusions and the soldiers, and had proven himself worthy. Yet he sensed that this was only the beginning. Lyra led him out of the chamber and into a tranquil garden that seemed impossibly large and beautiful. Strange plants glowed softly, and small creatures flitted among them. A gentle breeze carried the scent of flowers that Ethan had never smelled before. For the first time in hours, he felt calm. "You have done well today," Lyra said, sitting on a floating bench that hovered slightly above the ground. "Rest here for a moment. Tomorrow will bring more challenges." Ethan sat beside her, still catching his breath. He looked at her, remembering the first question she had asked him. "Look into my eyes, human, am I sexy?" He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Yes," he said again, more confidently this time. "And not just for that reason. You're incredible, and this world, it's beyond anything I've imagined." Lyra's smile deepened and she reached out, lightly touching his hand. "You speak honestly. That is why you are here. The palace recognizes truth, and so do I." They sat in silence for a while, watching the glowing garden. Ethan felt a connection to her, one that went beyond attraction. She was a leader, a protector of her people, and he could see the weight of her responsibilities. Yet she trusted him, allowed him to be part of this world. Suddenly the ground beneath them shimmered, and a vision appeared in the air, a distant planet under siege, ships burning in the atmosphere, civilizations in chaos. Ethan's heart sank. This was not an illusion, it was a warning. "The challenges you face are not limited to this palace," Lyra said, her voice serious. "Threats exist beyond these walls. You will need courage, strength, and intelligence to help protect what matters." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of the responsibility pressing on him. He had come to explore, to observe, but now he realized he had a role in something far larger. His choices could affect entire worlds, and he could not afford to falter. Lyra stood, her glowing form casting long shadows across the garden. "Come," she said. "There is one more test before your day ends. It will challenge your heart, not just your mind." She led him to a crystal chamber, smaller than the chamber of truth but equally mesmerizing. In the center floated a single crystal, radiating soft light. Ethan approached cautiously. The crystal pulsed as he neared, responding to his presence. Lyra spoke softly. "This crystal reveals what lies within. You must face it honestly. Fear, desire, love, it will all be shown." Ethan hesitated, then reached out. The moment his fingers touched the crystal, a vision exploded around him. He saw his home planet, his family, his past, every choice he had made. He saw failures and successes, fears and desires, the parts of himself he had hidden even from himself. Tears filled his eyes as he confronted memories he had buried. He saw courage he had never acknowledged, and mistakes he had feared would define him. The vision shifted, showing him possibilities, choices he could make, futures he could create. Lyra's voice echoed gently. "Do not fear what you see, accept it. Only then can you move forward." Ethan took a deep breath, letting the emotions wash over him. He faced his fears, acknowledged his desires, and found clarity. The crystal pulsed brighter, then dissolved into light that seemed to merge with him. He felt a surge of energy, a connection to the palace, to Lyra, and to a purpose larger than himself. When the vision faded, he stood taller, feeling stronger, more certain. Lyra looked at him with approval. "You have done well, Ethan. You have faced truth, fear, and desire. You have shown courage and honesty. You are ready for what comes next." Ethan smiled, feeling a mix of relief and pride. He knew that challenges lay ahead, but he also knew he was no longer alone. Lyra was beside him, and he had proven himself worthy of her trust and of this world. As they walked back through the glowing corridors of the palace, Ethan felt a sense of belonging he had never known. The palace pulsed around them, alive and aware, recognizing him as part of its story. Finally, they reached a balcony overlooking the alien city, glowing softly under the twin moons. Lyra turned to him, her eyes intense yet gentle. "Look into my eyes, human, am I sexy?" she asked once more. Ethan met her gaze. Confident and calm. "Yes," he said, his voice steady, "and I mean it. You are more than I could have imagined, and I'm honored to be here with you." Lyra smiled, the palace glowing warmly around them. "Then you are truly worthy. This is only the beginning, Ethan. Together we will face whatever comes next." The city below shimmered in the night, full of secrets and mysteries, and Ethan realized that his journey had only just begun. He had faced fear, illusions, and his own heart, and emerged stronger. Now he was ready for the adventures that awaited beyond this planet, with Lyra by his side. And as the twin moons reflected in her eyes, he knew one thing for certain. He would never forget the day the alien princess asked him a question that changed everything.